join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, the start of the May 5th Select Board meeting. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda tonight is citizens' time. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak for citizens' time? Anyone online? Don't see any hands. Okay. Moving on, we have an appointment for our new Assistant Town Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Patrick Lawler here with us tonight. Patrick, why don't you come up, and his beautiful young family behind him in the audience. Patrick has interviewed with a bunch of people here, all of you included, dozens of department heads, other stakeholders throughout town, Ways and Means Committee, and folks like that. And it was unanimous that everybody was thrilled at the possibility of Patrick coming to join us. We did some executive recruiting. The speech I had is on my desk, so I'm sort of winging it a little. We had done some targeted executive recruiting, and we talked to over a dozen folks, and Patrick rose to the top right away. It was very clear that we had an all-star on board. We had initial interviews and conversations with Patrick and I, and then we brought in Paul Sagarino, and Lynn and some other key folks from our everyday team, and then proceeded to do interviews with this board and a bunch of folks, as I mentioned. So I am thrilled to recommend Patrick to be our next Assistant Town Administrator and de facto Finance Director, and with effective June 1st. And I asked the board to waive their 15-day waiting period. So I know that all of you had a chance to meet with Patrick too, so.
Anyone have any comment or before you take a motion?
Yeah, and I'll say something.
Sure, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Normally I know we jump right into a vote, but Assistant Town Administrator ain't nothing to shake a stick at. I was very happy to have the opportunity to speak with Patrick. I appreciate the fact that he gave me an hour of his time in the middle of a day. And like JD said, we talked to a lot of folks, and what I appreciated was kind of the way Patrick frames a lot of the things that we're looking for, right? And when we look at, a role at this level of leadership, what he can, how he's viewing everything, what he's looking at. I'm not trying to make your head any bigger, so, please understand that, this is all because we appreciate everything that, took place in the discussion. I think he'll make a fantastic Assistant Town Administrator. I know I'm an N of one, but, again, when we talk about bringing people to Burlington, when we talk about, keeping the bar high, raising the bar, not resting on our laurels, it comes down to doing this type of work, bringing in the right people with the right mindset, who are going to continue to lead and drive things forward for the community. So I'm super excited to have Patrick on board. Look forward to working with him. We will waste no time on 6-1. I assure you of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at Patrick's resume and then having a discussion with him, I was thinking to myself, there isn't one area of local government that he hasn't overseen or been acting town clerk, he's held down almost every municipal leadership that you can think of. He's one of the most well-rounded candidates for a position that you could ask for. And he's coming from a town similar to ours that has the similar issues. And so he's kind of got experience coming into this town itself with issues that are relative to Burlington. But talk about a well-rounded candidate. Just checks all the boxes for me, but more than happy to have him come on board. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Patrick, for coming in and for all the time you spent talking to all the stakeholders in town. I think, your resume and your wealth of experience kind of speaks for itself, but then you have a conversation with you and you can really understand that you're your ideas, your goals, and your passion for local government and public service is so apparent. So I'm really excited to work with you and to see you come on board. And I think you're going to be a big asset to this town. And speaking of his resume, I mean, we try to be as transparent as possible with this process. And I think we can, if anybody in the community wants to see his resume, and you can really see just how well aligned his background is with what we need in Burlington. So really excited to bring you on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say welcome aboard. Everybody said everything. I'm not going to make your head any bigger than it already is, because John told me about that. I don't want to keep that just in this room here, but just welcome aboard. And
Thank you.
for coming to Burlington.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more thing. As you know, I like Paul before me, I watch meetings from other towns all the time. I don't know why, but I'm a junkie, I guess. And at town meeting, I think they went so far to actually make Patrick an honorary resident, because they said you always have a home here in Andover. So it was pretty funny. So they thought very highly of him there, too.
Thank you, JD. So first off, I want to say it feels a little weird that JD is now on our right as opposed to our left, and that's kind of a sign of the times and sign of, I guess, change. And what we've talked about is in the last few meetings is succession planning. And what I think the Patriots have the Patriot way, we have the Burlington way, and we build a strong bench with people to fill in behind us when we've had retirements go on. And I never really went through an assistant town administrator search or search like this before, but I have to be honest that you have exceeded all of my expectations on finding a candidate. We feel very fortunate that we're in this position to be able to bring you on board to add to our great team. It makes me so excited for the future of Burlington and the future of our town and our team to get a gentleman of your caliber. And seeing on paper was great, but when I got to sit down and speak with you, you had me at hello. So we're very lucky to have you on board. We're very excited, and I just couldn't be happier and look forward to seeing all the wonderful and great things you're going to do for our community. So thank you, Patrick.
Appreciate that.
And with that, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve Patrick as our next Assistant Town Administrator.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's 5-0-0. Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Aboard.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
If you want to go actually, come on.
First order of business.
Of course, yeah. Come on up, guys. Oh, a snack cup, I'm jealous.
Thank you so much. Want my cup?
But I don't want to take a picture.
Right, yeah.
That's the first trouble.
Good job, guys.
Say, yeah. Thank you very much for the kind words and welcome here in Burlington. I'm very excited to be working alongside John and all of you and the entire team here. I was so impressed by the passion, the excitement, and the commitment to service that I saw and felt in each meeting I had. I've been in public service my whole career. I've been in municipal government for the last 8 years, and I can think of no better chapter than the one I'm about to embark on. And I'm very excited, and I look forward to serving.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have proclamation every May for Help Us.
Hi, Joyce.
Hello.
All right. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Good.
You want to give us a little background on the month of kindness and how we got here and why we
Oh, my
celebrate
goodness.
this each year?
Didn't expect this today. Well, it's been on the works for many, many years to bring it to this point, to honor all the good and the good people, instead of only see the faces of angry, mean, bad news. I wanted to not to cancel all of that out, but I want to bring that, yeah, there are problems, but there are solutions. They are no good people, but they are also good people, and that's what motivated me to, 2009, I said, I'm going to collect all the good people, I'm going to make my own good news, and I'm going to make a law to honor the good people. And in the plans, it was, as I was moving forward through the years and really see the facts and see the acts of kindness and see the people really go above and beyond and out of the way to help someone. I said, you know, I need to bring this out. People need to see and honor all the, and that's what all the good people, all the good that is happening. Of course, we passed a law for the state of Massachusetts. We're hoping that we're going to move it to other states in the future. But I like to work with the schools and the students, and that's, you know, whatever time it takes. And at this town, I started the organization, and I got so much support. And I live in this town for the last 30-something years. I'm originally from Greece, and honestly, I have nothing but good to say. I raised 2 daughters with my husband. They went to the schools here. They've done very well, both of them. And I want to encourage people to promote all this, the good that it's happening. And I want to honor the good people in the town with naming Burlington. But I'll let you guys do that. Because I think it's very important that we talk about the bad and we do things for the no good, but we also honor the good. If we're going to say this side, then we need to say that side too. And thank you so much. I really appreciate, Jim, thank you so much. I was in shock when you said yes. I couldn't believe it because I thought it would never happen, but I loved working on that idea. I said, maybe someday. And I'm so happy that this is moving into the schools now and having the Parade of Kindness and the Celebration of Kindness May 18th, which I would love the students to also show the town, announce it actually that day before the parade and the proclamation, so they can be, because they're involved anyway. We had so much help from the schools, from the teachers, from the educators. They go above and beyond, and the students. And I'm not promoting us, I'm promoting you guys, them. The good that is happening inside, and I've seen it firsthand. I've seen them come late at night, early in the morning to help a student. I've seen nurses from Leahy Clinic, doctors from Leahy Clinic. Joyce, we have a patient, a young man who needs sneakers. So I've seen it so much. And I'm hoping that I put it out there where people really, so thank you, I appreciate it. And also I'm very lucky to have a great team. And a student who has been volunteering and delivering to the school, the needs of the school. So we're very, very blessed. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce. I think we're the blessed ones. I think now, more than ever, we need the efforts of people like you and help us with the state of the world. And you make the world a better place with all the things you do. So tonight we have a proclamation for you tonight. And Jim's going to read it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I read this, after I read this, can you mention your event coming up on later this month? And then also, you brought your banner. Would you and your team, after I read this,
Yes, but I will
come up here and take a picture with the banner?
Come up and talk about the event.
So I'm going to read the proclamation. It's a proclamation designating Burlington as Burlington Kind. Whereas the town of Burlington is a community built upon the principles of respect, compassion, and inclusion, where neighbors support one another and celebrate diversity, and whereas kindness serves as a unifying force that transcends differences, strengthens community bonds, and enhances the quality of life for all residents, and where Burlington has long been recognized as a place where acts of kindness, generosity, and goodwill are woven into the fabric of daily life, from volunteerism to charitable initiatives and beyond, and whereas fostering a culture of kindness promotes civic engagement, improves mental well-being, and creates a more welcoming and resilient community, and whereas this initiative was inspired by the vision and efforts of Joyce Delianis and the organization Help Us, whose mission to spread kindness and help those in need has profoundly impacted Burlington and beyond. And whereas Burlington schools and students play a vital role in promoting kindness, serving as ambassadors of these values through acts of compassion, inclusion, and community service. And whereas the designation of Burlington as Burlington Kind symbolizes the town's unwavering commitment to cultivating a spirit of kindness, empathy, and cooperation among its residents. And whereas this recognition seeks to inspire individuals, organizations, and businesses to embrace kindness as a core value in their interactions and endeavors, now therefore we, the Select Board of Burlington, on behalf of the town's residents, schools, and organizations, do hereby proclaim Burlington as Burlington Kind in recognition of our shared commitment to fostering a community defined by kindness, inclusion, and mutual respect. This initiative is the result of the dedication of Joyce Delianis and Help Us in bringing this vision to life. Let this title serve as a reminder and a call for action for all who live, work, and visit Burlington, especially our students and educators, to embody and promote these values in their everyday lives. Signed, Michael Espejo, Select Board Chair; James Tigas, Select Board Vice Chair; Nicholas Priest, Select Board Member; Joseph Morandi, Select Board Member; and Sarah Cawley, Select Board Member.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hi, Kate. You want to introduce yourself and talk about your event coming up?
Absolutely. So we are having the very first community-wide celebration of kindness on the Burlington Town Common on May 18th. That'll be from 10 to 12. Anyone from the community is invited, but we were especially thrilled to partner with Burlington Public Schools this year, who has been doing integrated kindness events and social and emotional learning lessons into the spring curriculum and also in other spaces this year. They have been a fabulous partner in planning this, and on that day, we will be having a mini parade around the common that all of the children and young people in the community are invited to participate in. We'll also be having crafts. We'll be having activities centered around kindness. The Burlington High School Band will be there, and there will be community booths as well to talk about and share information about some of the other wonderful nonprofits in Burlington. So we are super excited by that. We are inviting people to bring donations for the food pantry if they're able to.
It's not yet. About the band, it's not shown yet.
What was that?
Look at the band.
The band? Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Hopefully we'll have the Burlington High School Band. We're
But we
working
will
on
have
that.
music anyway.
And also, for any of you that have noticed a scattering of ladybugs across Burlington, part of this project was that anyone can nominate a student in Burlington for performing an act of kindness, that they notice that a student has done something. And we have Operation Ladybug, which the schools have been phenomenal in figuring out how to get those ladybug signs delivered to that student's house as a way of honoring that they are behaving kindly and done something that someone has noticed. So that has been a lot of fun. And Joyce and I both enjoy driving around town and seeing them pop up everywhere.
I stop and I take pictures. I said I'm going to get into an accident. I'm like, oh, hello, lady. Every time I drive by and it's like, hello, lady.
So as all of you drive around town, you see ladybugs, you know that for every ladybug, there is a kind child or young person living in that home. So thank you.
Then the children are going to take it and bring it to the common, and it will be placed on the common. So that would be nice. We're hoping 1,000 acts of kindness. But this is the beginning, and we're hoping that it will spread in other areas. We already got word from different groups from Boston, from different other towns that they would like to. And we can really contaminate. Let's just do it.
So that explains the
it's done.
ladybug on my lawn.
Yes.
It does. There is someone kind living at your house besides you.
To find out who that is. Yeah, you want to do a picture with the banner and the,
Proclamation, absolutely.
Where should we, all of us?
Are we in this?
Yeah, all of us. Yes. It took all of us to get to this point.
So why, yeah, come up here.
Let's go. We'll see a sign like
Joyce,
this.
how about you and I get a little proclamation?
Yeah, that's great.
So I can send it to the team. They were so waiting for it. And it's like,
Bill, why don't you come up here?
Sneak a picture. What a good-looking crew.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, I don't know, Jim. Thank you. You know what the red means? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know what the red means? In the beginning, they say, why red? It's, I said, red is like, help you very fast. And everything has a meaning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Okay, the next item on our agenda I can take, it's the Disability Access Commission. They use the parking fine funds for handicap violations to help with disabled initiatives in town. And what they're asking for us is to approve the transfer from the handicap parking funds to the programs that they want to use this money towards. So it's kind of been a busy month for us at DAC. We have $12,300 in programming, $5,000 of which is inclusion services, $4,800 is for horseback riding, for discounted rates for kids that need extra help with horseback riding. $2,500 is going to a sneaker prom, which we're all familiar with, where they dress up and wear their sneaker prom. This other one's a new one. The Parks and Recs Department is interested in buying a Century trailer, and what that's going to be is a safe space for kids with sensory issues to go and enjoy the event, but maybe it'll be less lighting or less noise, and DAC's going to pay for half of that and offer $25,000 of their funds. And lastly, they are asking $10,000 for their Operation Access, in which DAC funds police details to help with enforcement of handicap parking violations. And we found out in our meetings that a lot of people are still parking in handicap spots. It's a huge issue in town, and I was really shocked to see the numbers, and I can't believe that people would take those spots away from people who really need them. So DAC does a lot of great things in town with the money we collect from handicap parking violations, and these are just some of the examples, and they're asking for our approval to transfer into their funds so they can go to good use. Any questions or discussion?
I had a question on the trailer, because there's some conditions around it. So
Yep.
it's $25,000 for a trailer. The rest would be paid by rec, is my understanding.
Yep.
They're seeking funding. I guess it wasn't clear where they're seeking funding from. Is it a grant or?
Yeah, the rec is trying to work on a grant for the other 25,000,
Okay.
and the DAC's contribution is conditional on them getting that funding by June 1st. If they aren't able to secure that funding, then I guess they're going to go back to the drawing board, but we wanted to at least give the rec department our commitment with DAC and saying, if you can get this half, we'll help you with the other half.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. That's
Yep.
helpful.
Just a quick comment. Again, we had Christine Drew in last week, and we talked about things that go on behind, I don't say behind the scenes of Burlington, but things that people really don't know about. And what DAC is looking, the Disability Access Commission is looking to do for a specific population of our citizenry, that, again, this won't benefit everybody, but there are people in our town that need certain things. And just like with Joyce, we're trying to fill and again, Joyce has nothing to do with the town, that's on her own. But we just try, as a group, as citizens and as government, try to provide everything possible we can to our residents, and I support this 1,000%. So I just want to say, what they do they do amazing work, so.
I did have one more question.
Sure.
So I was reading the backup, and for the handicap space violations, it looks like there were 90 violations over an 11-day period. Is that typical, or are we seeing an uptick?
I was shocked.
Jim knows the answer.
That was for the last round of Operation Access, and they're mostly done at the mall, and they're mostly like DoorDash drivers and people running in real quick to try and just pick up food, and it's wild how people can think that they can just run right in and not get caught, and the enforcement has kind of been lagging, and now we're kind of picking back up on it, and it's something that hopefully we can curb with all of the ticketing.
I mean, the positive side is that money from those violations goes into programs like this, I guess.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, and I always, sometimes if it's cold or windy, I would always have that second thought, oh, I can just run right in, but it would just kill me to think that I would take that spot from someone who can't walk, and so I never do it. But, I don't know.
I was just going to mention, a lot of it's deliveries is a big part of this. People making deliveries, or do it, like you said, DoorDash. I'll just be a minute. But
I think they're just going to run right in, grab their stuff.
They're not
and
there a
go.
minute.
Yeah. It's a problem, so. So if no other discussion, I'll take a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the DAC Disability Access Commission funds as you have described.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, chair's an aye, that's 500, in approval for DAC. Moving on, we have the James Gang 5K for October 5th. You have anyone here to talk about that? Could you introduce yourself and let us know what's going on October 5th?
Sure. So my name is Lauren Anderson, and I am here to represent the James Gang again this year. So we did the 5K last September. We had a great day, over 170 runners, and everything went really smoothly, especially thanks to the Burlington Police Department that volunteered some of their time. So as a reminder, the James Gang is a local family-run nonprofit, and our focus is on creating meaningful ways for the disabled community to be included. And we also promote awareness and raise money for funding my brother's ultra-rare NARS1 gene disorder. So with that said, we are hoping to have our 5K again this year on October 5th, starting and ending in the high school parking lot, using the well-known route here in town, which I think you should have a copy of, and hoping for another fun day.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments about it?
I'll make a comment.
Sure.
Thank you for coming out. Glad to hear last year's event. That was the first time, right?
It was,
That event?
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
Glad to hear it went well. I I was on the website taking a look, and this isn't the only event you guys have. I was surprised to see how many events you have and how much good work you do for the disabled community. So it was great to see you have, golf events and the marathon fundraising and all of that. So really just another example of a charity in Burlington giving back. So thank you so much for all you do. I did have one question just about the event, just only because it came up when people were discussing the new high school and the placement of the high school, that one of the things neighbors could hear were when there are races at that spot, because the start and finish line is right behind the high school. Is that correct?
Yeah, by the cafeteria entrance.
Yes, back there. And there are some neighbors right back there. So I know part of it is, music and maybe announcing people's names or something like that. So just ask that you be mindful of the sound. It is a Saturday morning, I think. Is that correct?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, yeah, weekend morning, 9 a.m. So that was just something that came up within the last year, and this just reminded me that, we should be mindful of the sound levels.
Of course, yes.
Other than that, I'm
Cognizant.
fully in support of this.
Awesome, thank you.
Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is either a question or potential suggestion. Where it's in October, would you have it themed for Halloween?
We would love to do a theme or something fun. Last year, we had donuts, and that was a big hit after the race.
That's why you got,
Cider
that's why the
donuts.
police showed up, right, for free, they volunteered their time? I'm one.
You can
so
say that.
I can say that.
Yeah.
But we would love to do a theme or something fun to add on. Last year, we thought about it, but we said, let's just figure out the logistics of getting people there and running, the 3.1 miles. But this year, we would like to add on.
Well, my opinion.
That's not a bad idea.
All right, that's all, just a suggestion.
So we have a rain date of October 12th, only in
Yeah.
case of severe weather?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Well, in that case, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the James Gang 5K second annual for October 5th from 9 to 11 with a severe weather rain date for October 12th.
Second.
Second for Sarah.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 500.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the event.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a public hearing for Fox Hill Road. I guess I'm going to open the public hearing. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the advertisement as written.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? It's 500, so the posting is approved. And now we're ready to start. If anyone's here for Fox Hill Road, Mr. Boyven? Introduce yourself and let us know what we want to do.
Okay, thank you to the board for having a public hearing on this issue. My name is Bill Boyven. I am a town meeting member for Precinct 1, and in that capacity, I get information and questions and complaints. And there were questions about speeders on Fox Hill Road specifically by several neighbors. So I approached Paul Segarino and asked, to let him know that there were concerns, and asked what we could do to address this issue. And there's a player here. What Paul did was he set up a meeting with the traffic committee, the town traffic committee, and at the meeting were 4 neighbors, myself, Katrina Boschetti, Melissa Uliani, and Mike McCarthy had all expressed an interest in, resolving this situation. And the traffic committee that was at that meeting was Paul Segarino, Tom Hayes, the town engineer, Sergeant Peter Abasker on the traffic safety officer, and Brian White, the DPW head. So it was great. I was very pleased to see that the town responded in such a manner and was open to listening to what we had to say. We felt that the speed bumps were ineffective as they currently sit because people generally ignore them. Some of them are worn so much that it's barely a painted stripe on the ground. And anybody who is familiar with them knows that they're not very effective and just don't even slow down for them. You can always tell when somebody's new to the neighborhood because they stop at each speed bump and go over carefully, So we said that, our thought was, oh, we'll just get the speed bumps refreshed, bring them up a little bit. But Tom told us that the federal guidelines no longer allow speed bumps. They're considered defects in the road, and they're not allowed in this national guidelines to be put on public streets. So speed bumps and speed humps are out, but speed tables are allowed. They're a different shape and a different impact for the vehicles going over them. So that meeting resulted in a plan of action, and that was that the town would do a traffic study of the areas of concern in that particular group of people: Fox Hill Road, Donald Road, Westwood, and Beaverbrook. And Peter Abascaron set up speed monitors on each of those streets, one day at a time, each separately, and those monitors measured the number of cars and the speed at which they went. There was nothing else. There was no recording of license plates or anything like that. And they each measured for a 7-day period. And then the ultimate goal was to draft an SOP, which you have in front of you tonight, on how not only could Fox Hill Road get a speed tables installed, but we wanted to see a process where any street in town that felt they were justified could have a mechanism for applying for the same thing. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, how come Fox Hill Road has them and nobody else can get them, So this was a way to address that. So I'm going to tell you what happened in the speed study of Fox Hill Road, because that's the application before you tonight. The speed limit on Fox Hill Road is 25 miles an hour. And there were 2 speed studies done. The first one was done in August, and it measured 4,000 cars going down Fox Hill Road in a 7-day period. But we asked Peter if he would, since that was done when school was not in session, we asked Peter if he would mind redoing it when school was in session, and he came back in October and did it again. And instead of 4,000 cars in a 7-day period, there were over 10,000 cars in the 7-day period. So that was obviously the school is a vast driver of bringing cars. 15% of those were going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit of 25, and 5% were considered enforceable violations, which means they were going 10 miles an hour or greater over the speed limit. And you might say, well, 5% doesn't sound too bad, but 5% of 10,000 cars a week is 500 cars a week that are going down that street in excess of 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And most of that increase in traffic was because of the school, so it's during school hours, and that's when the kids are on the streets commuting and stuff like that. And this was all with these speed bumps in place, so I think it reinforced our claim that the speed bumps were not particularly effective. So Tom was nice enough to draft an SOP on how to possibly let other streets in town apply. He was kind enough to let me comment and edit. And the SOP was submitted to the Select Board and actually approved as an application process in August of 2024. So I'm just going to say what's in that SOP, because there are people here, I'm sure, listening online or whatever, who aren't familiar with it, and some people even on other streets in the area, like Donald, are probably hearing this stuff for the first time. So what needs to be done if one wishes to apply for speed tables on their street? First, your street has to qualify, and not every street in town qualifies. For example, main streets, state highways, dead-end streets, streets that are not residential, none of those would qualify. They have to be classified as a secondary or local road. And Tom did a good job in writing the SOP, because the SOP includes at the end of it about 150 streets that would not qualify for those particular reasons. And it has to be a residential neighborhood. The posted speed limit must be 30 miles an hour or less, and 15% of vehicles exceeding the 5 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit. So you have to arrange to have a traffic study done, and the data has to show that there is this excess of people going more than 5 miles an hour over this posted speed limit. Those are the minimum evaluation criteria. There are also additional considerations which would boost the approval process. One is if you have traffic volume 50% greater than comparable streets, which Fox Hill Road did. If you have an accident rate greater than comparable streets, and whether you have a proximity to a school, park, or other pedestrian attraction. So that, of course, would mean more kids on the street. And there are design standards for the speed humps. Each one is 12 inches, 1 foot up, and then, no,
4 inches high,
4 inches high.
22 feet long.
It's 6 feet up and 12 feet across the middle, so it's 24 feet long. So the actual design standards that cannot be on a street with a slope of 8% or more, so steep hills, it doesn't make sense to put them on. And there has to be adequate sight distance. You have to be able to see that speed bump from 200 feet away. You can't have it right after a corner or right after a hill, because then it's not a fair obstacle. Somebody might not have time to slow down. So those are some of the design standards that help to determine where you can put them in. And when you do put them in, there'd be a spacing of 300 to 500 foot between them. And ultimately, if it does come to getting approved and installed, that installation wouldn't be immediate. It would be in coordination with the next paving plan for that street, sometime probably within the next 5 years, it says. So that's what is required. You also need to collect signatures of 75% of the people on the street. This application with Fox Hill Road, we collected 85%, actually 87% of the people on the street that would be, directly abutting the street. The few that we didn't get yeses from, most of them was because they weren't there, they didn't answer the phone, or the house was in the process of a tear down or something, there was no current resident. The 2 people that I interviewed said no, and their only reason for saying no was they didn't think they would look good. There was nothing about, safety or stuff like that. But we had 87% signatures. So the process says that once a application comes in with all the supporting material, the speed analysis and the signatures and the justification paragraph, that it goes to the town engineer, Mr. Hayes, who reviewed it and determined that it meets the requirements, so then it's forwarded to the select board. So that is the process. If the select board approves it, it will then go to town meeting for approval of funding. So that explains it to the people who are watching, so here we are. You want to say anything, Tom?
No, I think you've handled it.
Well, you trained me well in our discussions on this thing. So that's where we are, and, I respectfully request that the town consider approving this and sending it to town meeting. Sometime between now and then, I think the engineering department would come up with an estimate of the cost to include that with the package that would go to town meeting.
Okay. Open up to the board for questions, comments. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick questions. Tom, what happens with these things in the wintertime? Are they just like the speed bumps that are up there now that plows just go over them, or what happens with them?
Yeah, they're acceptable as a speed or a traffic calming device under the MUTCD. So they won't prohibit any sort of plowing. They're not going to be any worse than the speed bumps that are there now.
Okay. And how many would we need on that road, that Fox Hill Road alone?
If they were spaced out at 300 feet, it'd be about 9.
About 9 of them? And the cost of them, how much?
Well, we're estimating, we've never designed them or installed them, so if you do a quick Google search, the estimate's between 5 and 10, so we carried a price of like $7,500, so we won't really know until we actually do some installations and get a feeling for what they cost per.
And we're talking about when the paving is the next time we do Fox Hill Road.
Yeah, Fox Hill's up for resurfacing. We're going to hold it until after the school is done, because we don't want a lot of heavy traffic on it while the school's under construction. So probably, I don't know, maybe 28 or 29, when it'd be, the school's complete and we're ready to resurface the road.
I think that would make sense. After the school's complete, you got to, repave and restripe.
The 10,000 cars, 10,125 cars on Fox Hill, that was during the school time, right? So thank God we don't have a bigger school going in, there'd be 20,000 cars up there. But if you take that 10,000, there's probably 5 in the morning and 5 at nighttime, because Peter leaves it out there all day long, correct? That's still a lot of cars either way I'm just trying to figure out the number of cars that really go up and down that road. 10,000 seems excessive to me, but 10,000 is probably twice a day, so it's probably 5,000 cars, right? Plus the residents. That's what I'm assuming that is.
Can I make a comment on that point?
Sure, go
I
ahead.
think once the new school is in and has new gymnasium and state-of-the-art practice fields and playing fields, that the traffic will go up. There'll be people coming to play at those fields nights and weekends, and that don't exist now. So I
Well,
think
I'm
there'll
sure
be
it's
even
going
more at
to,
that time.
But Mike, was that bigger school would have caused a lot more than
Oh, yes.
10,000 cars going in there. So those are the questions I had for us going into this, whether to go through with this or not. But this is just this one road. It's when the road is going to be repaved again, that's when we're going to talk about doing this at that time, right? If we approve this tonight. Okay, thank you.
Can I also make a comment?
Oh, well,
These are,
That's up to the
okay.
chair.
These are the two people who were on the meeting with us.
after the board goes, I'll open it up for the public comment for this, because it's a public hearing. Anyone else on the board want to make, Jimmy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'm probably just as shocked as you, 10,000 cars. I was not expecting that, and I walk that road every now and then. Absolutely support this. A question for Tom, though, this being our first attempt at this, and the first time it's come to us, any thoughts on the process? Does it need to be tweaked for the next one, or do you think we really have this down good now?
No, I think the process is, we did a lot of research, looked at different communities that have had policies in place, and the traffic committee felt this was reasonable, a reasonable approach. The studies show that speed tables will drop the speed down between 5 and 10 miles per hour. So on Fox Hill, it exceeds the posted by about 7 miles an hour. So we're looking at bringing it back in compliance with the 85th percentile, which would bring it back to like 25-ish miles per hour.
Okay, one quick question. It's just a follow-up to what Joe said regarding the plowing. I don't plow or anything, but I'm assuming that these would be easier to plow as opposed to a speed bump, correct?
No, I think so.
All right. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So out of the gate, I mean, Bill's brought me along in this process, and, it's been good kind of seeing it happen in real time as it goes, with this being kind of our first venture, once we approved the overall process, and then, the neighborhood kind of got into it. So just initial thoughts on this particular project. 9 feels like a lot. I could be wrong. Maybe when we see it, placed on the actual road and mapped out with the 24 feet, and then the 300 feet, that it makes sense. I would just say, and cost aside, maybe if it's more like 400 or 500 feet apart, we can do 1 or 2 less, and it'll be sufficient. Because we have how many speed bumps there now? 6?
There's 6 out there now.
6. And they don't even go the full span of, they don't go all the way to Hart, right? They stop at Boulder.
I think just before.
No, they go to Hart.
They go to Hart?
They go to Vincent, they don't go all the way to Fox Hill.
Well, there's a space between the intersection and the first speed bump, but basically it's from Hart. I think they started there, and there's some sort of a definitive space that must be left. You can't have it right at the intersection.
Right. Like you said, they can't be at an intersection on a turn, things like that. So that's fine. I just put that out there. I would also say, given how many kids move through that area, whether they're biking to and from school or just moving through the neighborhood, and with the additional fields and space that the community will use, we should also consider, beefing up crosswalk, whether it's blinking signs, or maybe there's a certain one that's an actual push button, or just something that we can actually, put in place and say, this is above the not bare requirement, you know what I'm trying to say, Tom. We can just do a little bit more, that way, there's that added level of, assumed safety. I agree, Joe, I think 10,000 cars is a wild number, and I guess I'll only take this opportunity to say, we pay as a community for buses.
Exactly.
So, I mean, as somebody who has 3 kids who goes to Fox Hill, right? Like, my kids get on the bus every morning, and it's like a special occasion when we do parent pickup. And I understand everyone's situation is different. I'm not going to balk at that whatsoever, right? But to go from 4,000 cars to 10,000 cars is a wild number, right? Like 6,000 people are driving up to the school on the regular during a school day. And again, I know like we're taking this as a snapshot in time, and I'm trying to be really realistic about it, but if we were all putting our kids on buses, right, and putting our dollars to work because we've spent that money, gang, right, like that those buses are running, whether there's 5 kids on them or 30 kids on them, there'd be less cars traveling our roads. It's kind of the point of the buses, so just tossing that out there. If we want to see a reduction in overall, wear and tear on our infrastructure and, body count moving across, the roadways, the buses are there and we should utilize them. So, in general, I mean, I'm in favor of this at this point. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't, at the very least, try it. I think Fox Hill's a great test case in our community for a straight long shot of road that, we could move away from the speed bumps and move to something that, would be hopefully more beneficial overall for a multitude of reasons. So with that, I will end my diatribe. And Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Bill, for all your efforts in this. I had the same thought as Nick, that 9 seemed like a lot, especially with the size of them. I mean, they're not speed bumps, they're longer, take up more space, but that is a very, long, wide, straight stretch of road, so maybe it makes sense. I guess I would just maybe say if we could get it down, I don't know. But that was my first thought when hearing this. I did have a question for Tom on the petition aspect of the whole process. I know when the town clerk gets signatures, she has to verify their accuracy. Is there anything like that with our process in terms of like looking up the name of the resident and just confirming that it's an actual person?
No, at this moment, no.
It was just address and signature. That was all that was required on it.
Yes, yep, I saw it. So it's the name printed, signature, address. Yeah, I was thinking about the process with the town clerk. Anytime you get signatures, she has to verify, and if they're not accurate, they don't count. So I don't know if there's any kind of more official process that we
I think the thought process was petitioner gets all the signatures, and then when the public hearing, all the butters are notified, and if they feel like it's not, they didn't sign up for this, then they can come and make their voice heard.
Fair. Okay, that's a fair point. And what is the signage that goes along with, is there a sign at all 9?
There's significant amount of, if you look, I don't know if you've seen the package, but there's a significant amount of signage and line striping that has to go along with the speed tables, so that people are aware of that. And I think it's a kind of a cue, you see the signage, you see the paint, you know that something's here, so you slow down.
Yeah, I know that right now where the bumps are, lines, whatever you want to call them, there's a yellow sign that actually says bumps.
Yep.
I was just curious if there's something like that on all 9?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And then my last question was on again, another process question for town meeting. And maybe my memory needs to be jogged a little bit, but is that something that the proponent, Bill Boyven, has to go in front, and the residents go in front of town meeting to request the funding based on your?
I think the intent was that the select board would put the article together to push it forward, and then it'd be on the petitioner to make the case in front of town meeting.
Okay.
Which I'm happy to do.
I know you would. I just double check that I got all my questions. I think that was it. That's all my questions. Thank you both for coming in, and thank you for all of your work with this and your advocacy for your neighborhood. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. This is kind of the perfect test case for our new speed table policy, because it's a street that already has the speed bumps, and we know there's already a need there for it. And I just have a question, Tom. What makes the speed bumps not effective anymore? Because I'm one of those guys that slows down at the speed bump and is afraid I'm going to mess up my alignment. Why are they just because they've been worn down, or just people don't care anymore, or just what?
Are they why people fly over them?
Yeah.
Well, the speed bumps are intended for parking lots where the speed limit's 5 miles an hour. So in terms of the, in the MUTCD, they consider it a defect because the road is even posted for 25 miles an hour, but most people travel at least 30 miles an hour. So they have the potential of damaging your car. I know the cars today have much better suspension than the old days.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't feel as bad, but it's probably doing a lot of damage. You hit that at 30 miles an hour. And it can, you can hit a speed bump and lose control and, in the front lawn of somebody else, somebody's house.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely in favor of this. I think it's a perfect test case for us. And I just wish that we were going to see them sooner than 28, 29. And to Nick's point, Nick, my kid goes to the middle school, and I drive to Fox Hill every day. No, just kidding. But no, I'm in favor of this, so, and again, it's a good test case for our new speed table policy. I didn't think we'd be using it that fast, but we obviously have a street in town that definitely needs it and should be first up, so I'm in favor. The board has made their comments. Does anyone here from the public want to speak on it? It is a public hearing. Come on up and say your name, and if you have anything to add to the discussion.
I would like to introduce these two ladies here.
Yes.
They went and collected signatures with me on the street.
Awesome.
They were part of this.
Hi, sorry, Katrina Boschetti. I live on Fox Hill Road. I just wanted to add that Fox Hills now, because of Waze, is used as a cut-through. So those 10,000 cars aren't just all Fox Hill people. They are coming from Wilmington, and now with the new Cambridge Street being repaved, we're going to see a lot more traffic on Fox Hill getting cut through because people are going to stop going through Wilmington Road and trying to get around that Cambridge Street area. Because we've already seen it now with the backup of the lights. And so that's, just people getting to work from Wilmington too. So just wanted to add that as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment on, come on up, say your name and.
Melissa Giuliani, also Fox Hill Road. And I really liked your question just a few minutes ago about the current speed
Yeah.
bumps and their deterrent for traffic stopping measures.
Yeah.
On 424 at 8:14 at night, my husband took the dog out, and at the first, right after Hart Street, at the first speed bump, is where the car is lined up on both sides of the road and drag raced to Beaverbrook. So they're not traffic calming measures. They're actually being used now as markers for the start of a race and the end of a race. And so just a heads up on that, because there's a way to go around them, and then we walk our kids. We walk to school and walk back from school. And right now, the buses kind of use the sidewalk as a way to go around the speed bumps. And so they go on to the sidewalk, not the smaller commuter buses from daycares and different things. They go around. And they actually go on to the sidewalk, which could impede the sidewalk. So it's another measure that we need to be aware of while doing that. Because as I'm walking to school, I see these vehicles coming towards me. It's Amazon trucks, it's other trucks that they just go onto the sidewalk.
I was gonna say, it's probably the Amazon trucks too, if the little trucks are doing it.
Yeah, so they just all find the sidewalks instead of just hitting the bumps. So
Okay.
just a thought as we approach this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tom, is there anything we can do to mitigate some of the speed until we get these tables in? Because it's clearly a need on this road.
Well, I think enforcement is probably the only thing that might slow people down.
Okay. Any other public comment online or in the room? Come on up and say your name and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
My name's Ann McCormick. I'm a resident of Donald Road. I've lived there for 20-plus years. I walk my dog every day around the Fox Hill Loop. I'm very aware of the traffic in the area. I'd like to just point out that, as you know, Donald Road and Fox Hill are parallel from Vincent to Hart Street, the area that we're talking about. In that half-mile stretch, to answer some question, there are 6 speed bumps currently in place. There's 7 signs on each side of the street. Is that perfect? Probably not, by what's being said here. However, I will say on Donald Road, the traffic is faster, and there are no sidewalks, so it is dangerous, and there is a safety concern. I can understand the buses do try to take shortcuts, but they certainly do when they're driving down Donald Road without any kids, and they're trying to get to those kids. We see it heavily on our street, and I think the people in the neighborhood would know that. I also think it's important to note with the construction activity that's going to happen in town. You know, you've got a new school, you've got 2 new construction builds at the top of Fox Hill at 233 and 238. Those are already in front of the town. That's going to be beyond the speed bump. What we see often on Donald Road is people avoid Fox Hill, and they take the extra turns and the extra stop, and they fly down Donald and then cut back over to Fox Hill out to Westwood. We see it in the morning in the opposite, and they're coming down. Am I sure there's more traffic during the school peak hours? I'm sure there is, because there's a school there, and that's unfortunate. I share their concern that there is a traffic issue and there's people speeding, but I think the residents on Donald Road, I mean, there's a safety issue there that I think the town needs to consider. I understand the police, and thank you for coming, and thank you for your work, too. You know, I've done some studies, and on the two roads, you know, there's a 5 mile per hour speed limit difference. So, you know, the average speed on, the average violation, I guess, if I'm reading these reports, and maybe you could speak to some of these. I only saw Fox Hill and Donald. I didn't see the impact on Westwood, which I imagine they have severe traffic and speed issues as well, because that goes straight to the school. Right, he can go on to that. I do want to point out, too, just to make sure we're all aware, and there are no sidewalks on Donald Road. All the other adjacent streets, you've got Beaverbrook, Fox Hill has the sidewalks, Beaverbrook does, Westwood does, Mill Street, and Skilton. They all have sidewalks. It's a very popular street to walk. People are constantly doing the loop between Donald and Fox Hill. So I just, as a resident of Donald Road, I would oppose this measure. I'm surprised to hear that there's been so much activity done, but I didn't find anything on the town's website. There's a petition, 85% of the street is town. I only found out about this on 4/24 when the public thing came out. So it seems like it's moving awfully quickly, and Donald Road residents haven't had a chance to really voice their concerns. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your concern. I have them too.
Yep.
And
You're welcome.
again, thanks for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment, if I could, about the sheer volume of pedestrian traffic that Fox Hill Road, and probably Donald as well, experiences. I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't 10,000 pedestrian, traffic numbers going up and down the street. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. My house is on the corner of Fox Hill and Boulder. I have 4 houses that are direct abutters. One is physically touching my property, and the other 3 are directly across the street. Those 4 houses have 14 kids. The oldest is 8, or are they up to 9 now? Going to be 9. So the oldest of those 14 kids is 8. And those kids are just learning to ride their bikes, just learning to, ride their little scooters and everything else. So, and that's just one small section. And there are new houses that are being built, which are big, and they're going to have families moving in, where previously it was a retired couple with their kids are gone. So there was a lot of pedestrian traffic as well. So that, I think, helps. That's what motivates me to make sure this is a safe street.
Okay. Oh, we have a hand in the audience. Doug? Online. Doug, if you can unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Doug Salvati. I am also on Donald Road, and I definitely agree about the improvements that can be made on our street, but I just wanted to speak about for Fox Hill. I support this as well. I like to cycle around the neighborhood, and I think the speed tables would be a lot more comfortable than the speed bumps. I can go on the sidewalks if they're free, but I think it would just be more comfortable. And I agree with most of the other reasons for safety and speed, so that's it, just expressing my support.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
We have another gentleman in the back. The red? Yeah, come on up.
You said gentleman. My name's Art Weiss, and I live on Fox Hill Road. But I live further up on Fox Hill Road, further down towards Upland. And I want to stress I support the need for these. I don't know exactly what these tables are, but it sounds like that was a nice presentation you made, and it sounds like what we have now isn't going to be an option in the future. So we do need something. The police can't be there all the time, although he probably could, but yeah, they can't be there all the time. I also have a unique position where I sat here the last time we talked about putting these in before we repaved the road. And maybe you can make a note that I remember several neighbors were concerned. On Fox Hill, the houses are separated, the borders are at the light poles. I mean, at the light poles, at the telephone poles. And neighbors complained they wanted them to be put in at the poles, instead of in front of their front walk or in front of their driveway. There was one fellow that had one in front of his driveway. So if that could be noted, that they're to be located at the poles, which is, and that might also stop people from driving on the sidewalk if they're at the pole sometimes. That, and as far as the speeding, I mean, I wish there could be one further down by Lang Circle, but we probably won't qualify per the parameters you mentioned. But I'd like to, because cars there are making up for the time they lost further down on Fox Hill Road. And I personally have been a first responder to 3 accidents in front of my house, and speeding was suspect. And so it's definitely a fast road. And also, as far as, this was very surprising, these numbers, but very recently I put in a security camera. That's a secret, though. That's a secret. And I didn't know how to set it. I didn't know what I was doing. And it was recording every single thing that moved. And in the beginning, I mean, I was getting almost like 800 cars a day in both directions. And it doesn't tell speed, but that was how many hits I had to personally clean out of the phone. Since then, I knew how to set it, but that's just shocking, the volume of cars that go by there. And most of them are at both ends of the day. And noontime is pretty quiet. So again, I want to stress my support for something on these roads to do it, and if one could be put further down, that would be good too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up, sir, the gray vest.
I'm Dave Brumby. I live on Donald Road, which is parallel to Fox Hill. So I completely agree there's a huge issue with the speeding in that whole area, so the Donald Road and Fox Hill. I have 3 kids, small kids, that I won't even let play in the driveway because people go so fast down Fox Hill. My big concern is if we put the speed tables on Fox Hill, do we have any idea what's going to happen to the traffic on Fox Hill, on Donald Road? Is it going to increase because people don't want to go over the speed bumps? Because, like, if we're already saying there's a decent issue with the speeding, I feel like we're just taking a problem from Fox Hill and moving it over to Donald Road.
Can I address that?
Sure.
That's why I wanted this SOP, because now Donald Road can apply using the same process. And looking at the speed data, you probably would qualify. And if anybody on Donald Road or Westwood would like to, pick my brain on what the process is and how we went about it, and I can send you the letters I sent to all the people on the street and stuff, I'd be happy to help. So let me know.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jim Kelly. I live in Donald Road. I've been there for 31 years this month. I've been able to see the effect, in my opinion, raising my kids there and seeing the traffic on Donald and Fox Hill. My kids went to Fox Hill School. I find anecdotally that seeing the traffic, I walked my dog daily on the loop as well, and just the other day, because of this meeting, I was monitoring or watching the speed bumps and how people were driving over them. And I noticed about roughly half the cars, I saw brake lights being hit. So at least there was some action happening with those cars. Quite a few cars, including my own, just drive right over them and take the hit. But I don't speed. I just go with the normal speed. But I have the same concern that by doing this, Donald Road's going to see an increase in traffic. I can almost guarantee that will happen. And I'm concerned about the speeds as well, because if people are using it as a bypass, they're more likely to speed to get to where they're going. Second to that is the sidewalk issue. That is paramount. When I walk on Fox Hill Road with the dog, I'm safe. I feel comfortable. I'm on the sidewalk. On Donald Road, you're next to cars. If there's a car parked on the street in front of someone's house and there's cars coming either direction, it gets squished down. And they're usually going at a better speed because the speed limit's 30. They're usually traveling at 30 and above, is my opinion. So I have great concern about this, and I really would like to see some strong consideration about Donald Road. To your point about the speed tables on Donald, that could help as well, but I just don't know if that's going to ever happen and if that's the direction we should be going or not. So I just wanted to express those concerns.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Tom, I know our sidewalk budget is minimal at best. But I also know that we have a plan for sidewalks. Is Donald anywhere on that plan?
Yeah, Donald Road is on, I couldn't tell you where it is on the hit list, and we put together, and we worked with the board to come up with the priorities and where they lie and funding. So Donald Road is on the priority list for a new sidewalk.
Within 5, 10 years, or what do you have any sense of?
We'll have to pull out the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good argument.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Very, very walkable neighborhood.
Yeah,
and
that whole loop there, Hart and Donald could definitely use sidewalks.
Okay, so something to think about in the wake of all this.
Well, it's voted. If you want, I can send you a copy of the list.
That would be great.
That'd be great. I think so. Gentleman in the back?
My name's Greg Lamb. I currently live in Westwood Street and represent a resident of Fox Hill Road. I grew up on Fox Hill Road. I grew up in Fox Hill Road before the bumps, lived there while the bumps. I can tell you one thing, anytime you put the bumps in there, people do go down Donald Road. I went down Donald Road to avoid the bumps as long as I lived there. I live on Westwood Street now, another, say, pass road for the whole thing. So very familiar with the traffic patterns around there. I know from a vehicle where the bumps, I never liked them because they were so aggressive on the vehicles.
Right.
I know the police and fire don't like going down that road for the same reason. So as far as the bumps go, I'm glad to know that they're going away.
Okay.
As far as tables go, I kind of wonder, I think 9 is like outrageous with the length of those speed tables. To put 9 of them in on a road that's got 6 bumps that is roughly a half-mile apart. There could be people speeding up and slowing down and doing that, but they're going to do that stuff. I don't think we need 9. But the cost of some of that, I kind of guess why we actually need the speed tables. I noticed that on Prouty Road, you put up 3-way stop signs. There's plenty of ways to put stop signs up that are much cheaper than putting a speed table in. And I know a lot of people are slowing down. Are they completely stopping on Prouty? Probably not. But it is slowing the cars down, just because the sign is there. I don't see anybody going boom there. I use Prouty Road a lot. So I guess...
Live on Prouty and do see people blowing through them.
Yeah, they did. There's some to do, but most of the people that I've seen going down the road, Prouty, they're putting their brakes on, they're coming to a crawl before they speed up again. But I think that something like that could also be worthy of Fox Hill Road, where you wouldn't need to think, whether from a plowing standpoint, resident standpoint, vehicle standpoint, maybe test out putting up 3-way stop signs for a bit, see if that does anything. Because it's a big amount of money to put into the road there. And I've seen the speed tables. I know that they're much wider than they are a bump that, so definitely not a 9. But I will say, if you put them in, again, I think the Donald Road passage is going to become a major issue as well. It already is, because there's still a lot of cars to go around there. A lot of times, if I'm coming from Westwood down Fox Hill to get to Hart or Skilton, I'm doing Donald Road, I'm not going down Fox Hill Road. So there is a lot of traffic there. I don't know what the patterns were for that road as well, but I just think that whole area, and I can see the cars as soon as they come, I'm on the top of Westwood Street, and then you go down the hill of Westwood Street, and it's just flat, and people are racing down that road. So, I mean, there's a lot of traffic issues in those 3 main roads that I think the town has to do something about. I don't know what the solution is, but I know there's some ways to slow that down, but I'm sure.
Noted. Thank you. Jim, you had a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to Tom and Sergeant Bascaroon, maybe. I know years ago, when the Prouty Road ones were put in, they also put them in stop signs, and then they put them on Mountain Road as well. Would Fox Hill and Donald qualify, or is it against MUTCD, a temporary, or at least to slow down on Donald Road and Fox Hill until these speed tables are in?
So we always reference the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that is our Bible. That is, it's actually voted by the federal government as law. So if you don't comply with the MUTCD, it's not an enforceable stop sign or yield sign or whatever is covered on the MUTCD. It's specifically discouraged to try to use stop signs for traffic control. There is criteria that that you have to do a traffic study. It has to meet certain criteria in order to install a stop sign. So the town has put a lot of stop signs. The ones on Mountain Road, not compliant. I actually spent 3 nights at a select boards meeting having one removed at Wyman Road because it's not compliant. It's something that has to be evaluated and voted, and putting stop signs up is not the right, and they're not enforceable, so it's not the correct thing to do.
That's why I want to make sure that we didn't do something that we couldn't do. Just looking for a temporary solution, but if it's not allowable, then it's not allowable.
And as you told us, the Proudy ones aren't even legal.
Well, they weren't. It was not enforceable because there was a crash in Billerica. They brought it down to 1 lane, and that's what caused all the problems down on Proudy Road. To bypass 3A, you're going to see that again. I'm already noticing the traffic on 3A, so.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, stop signs, I knew what you were going to say, Tom, because we talked about the MBTA.
We had a long discussion about that.
Yeah, quite a long one. They also don't curb speeding, right? From the moment you turn onto Proudy from 62 to the stop sign, right? Because I live, a couple houses down from the first stop sign at Holden, and people are cooking, man. I mean, 50 miles an hour, I would venture a guess. Not everybody, right? Like, I would say on average, people are driving 5, 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. But some people will not hit their brakes, and you'll hear the tires like hit as they like pop over the hill coming either from Billerica or in it. And it's just, it's crazy, right? Most of the time they're rolling through it, because they're not seeing any traffic coming through the intersection off of Holden or off of Jackson. And look, I think it's fair to say these speed tables aren't going to necessarily stop speeding either, right? The speed bumps haven't really stopped speeding. These are all just curbing measures, right? The goal is to try and slow some people down, to disincentivize people who would otherwise hit the gas when they shouldn't be. I think that, like a lot of things, we have to try something, and in my opinion, I don't think stop signs would work. Like the gentleman said, you keep your kids in the, out of your front yard, right? I do the same thing, right? I mean, not even because I'm worried about my kids going to the road, I'm worried about a car coming off the road into my front yard. That's the bigger fear, right? If someone loses control of their vehicle, and it's happened.
Well, there's just a pole in your house.
That's right, yeah, 2 houses down. And again, God forbid that was a medical event, but, for any reason, right, someone loses control of their vehicle, my front yard is ripe for the pickings, and I don't need my kids there. So we all have to take those measures to protect ourselves, protect our families, and then we broaden that out and we try to protect the neighborhood here, through particular measures that, we can at least, put in place and are enforceable. And then we just have to, take a page out of Joyce's playbook and say, I'm gonna drive the speed limit today, right? We're all trying to get somewhere, right? And half the time we're probably running late, and it's like, oh, what's 5 miles over, right? I was doing 32, what's 37? And that's how it happens, it's not necessarily always, some bad actor, causing an issue. So, sorry, I'm prattling. I just, I always get concerned when, it's a controllable thing 90% of the time. If people were just driving the speed limit, we wouldn't have to worry about all these kinds of things. And I feel for the folks on Donald, I do, because whether we did nothing and just let them bumps or we do something, people are going to use Donald as a cut through. It's the nature of the beast. And maybe we, talk about measures there as well. And who knows, we'll force the traffic at that point. But just wanted to make that comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else with public comment before we close it up? If not, seeing nothing online, seeing no hands, take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded to close public comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 500. Public comment is closed. Any other discussion from the board before we take another motion?
Just a question.
Sure.
Clarification. So what we're voting on tonight is whether or not we would want to move this SOP forward for this particular case, but not set parameters around the number of tables, right? Like that will be determined as, like, it all gets kind of measured and mapped out, right? Am I assuming that correctly?
Yes, yeah, so when we put the preliminary estimate together, it was based on the minimum of 300-foot spacing. So the guidelines are between 3 and 5 for spacing. This is a test case. If, over the next couple of years, we can fine tune it and come up with a design and a final number of speed tables that will be installed.
I mean, I'm comfortable saying, look, the max you would propose is 9, right? Go to town meeting with that number and say, based on, how it all lays out, and trying to keep them off of people's driveways and, all those kinds of things, it's gonna wind up being 6, right? But we've secured funding for 9 if it had to be 9. That makes the most sense to me. I just wanted to make sure that, like, we weren't saying it's gotta be 9 here tonight, right? We're leaving the latitude up to you guys to, as we get into the project, actually make that decision.
Yeah, and as we design them, we don't want to put them dead center in front of your house. We don't want to put them in front of your driveway or your walkway. So if it's 300 feet, or if it's 350, or it's 290, we'll squeeze them in so that they, they fit into the neighborhood.
Sure.
So no one's going to be inconvenienced by having this thing right in front of their house.
Can I add a recommendation to that?
Sure. Oh, actually, public comment is closed. You could probably talk to Tom, and you can add.
Well, just to put the crosswalks from Vincent and Hart as
JD?
Yeah, so my question was sort of along the lines as Selectman Priest was, since the work isn't going to be done for until 2028 or 29, I assume we won't be going to town meeting for some time so that we can get a more accurate price and layout and things like that. Tom, does that sound correct?
Yep.
I think if we went now and asked for a number that had an escalator in there to protect us, we might not have a great shot at getting it approved. So I think process-wise, it would be the board approving it to move forward through the rest of the process, but that funding request would be at some point in the future.
Just a quick comment.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was here last time that these residents were in front of us for the speed bumps on Fox Hill Road. So the gentleman in red down there, he made a comment about the speed bumps being in driveways and all that kind of stuff. He's right. There was a lot that went on. We approved the 6 speed bumps the last time that this came in front of us, and that's how long they've been there. So I don't have a problem doing this again. I think 9's excessive for that road. I think we could go with the 6, but the funding part of it should be coming up, and this is just to bring this article to town meeting at some point. It won't be this month, but, this week, but it will come in front of them at some point. So I think that this is a great idea for the residents. So that's all I wanted to say.
Right, this just moves the process along to the next step.
Yep.
All right. That said, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request as presented to continue the process going forward. I feel like I'm phrasing this weird, but I don't.
I'm following.
Okay, I mean, is that sufficient?
Sure.
Not to exceed.
We've never, not to what?
Not to exceed 9, is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, not to exceed 9. I guess we can start there and, like, again, I don't want to set too many parameters at this point. We're moving it along the process, so that's my motion to approve that we continue the movement of the process.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, typically when we approve things like grant a location or street openings and stuff like that, we approve it and then say that the engineer will make the final decision on exact placement or design, maybe something similar.
Where were you 2 minutes ago, Jay? I was,
I
I could have used those words 2 minutes ago.
He's still getting worked into the new gig, so give him a little time.
Trying not to interrupt.
All right, then let me retract my motion and we'll do this again. Governing live and in process. All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the existing process to continue the Fox Hill speed tables, not to exceed 9 speed tables, and that the engineering department will make the final say on how that all kind of maps out.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Chair is aye, it's 5-0. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
All right, now that we have cross that
Peter,
speed
thank you
bump.
for coming.
Good job, Peter. Thank you very much. We're going to have a grant of location, N-Star, doing business as Eversource for Bedford Street and Middlesex Turnpike. Do we have anyone here who's online? Joanne? Hello, if you could unmute yourself.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
So Eversource is seeking a grant of location to install approximately 1,015 feet of conduit and 2 manholes in Bedford Street, and also 50 feet of conduit in Middlesex Turnpike. And this is to upgrade the electric service at 35 Crosby Drive in Bedford.
Okay. What's your time frame looking at for this work?
So until the grant location is approved, we don't have a time of when we can begin, if that's your question. Or if the question is how long will it take, I would say probably about a month.
Okay. And my mistake, I forgot to do some procedural stuff. I'll take a motion for the listing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the advertisement for the public hearing as presented, as printed.
It's actually two, Jim.
It's
Two separate.
Oh, there's two separate, I approve the two separate public hearing and advertisements as printed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 4-0, chair is an aye. So the public hearing is now open. So I'm sorry about that. You said two, could you repeat 2 pieces of conduit? Where was that again? I'm sorry, we were having the room clear.
Yes, so
And it
no
was a little
worries.
bit loud.
It's about
so.
approximately 1,015 feet of conduit and 2 manholes in Bedford Street, along with 50 feet of conduit into Middlesex Turnpike.
Okay, I'll open up to the board. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Mr. Tigas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanne, is this work all underground? Yes, All right, so no, it's conduit manholes. all right, no utility poles or anything that will be worked on or attached to? Not in this grant location, no. All set for now.
Okay. Anyone else have any question or comment?
I have a question.
Sarah?
Joanne, is there the location of where the manholes will be already decided on Bedford Road? She's muted.
I'm not sure how I got muted again, I apologize.
There you go.
But on the actual plan that was included in the grant location request, it should have the manholes on the design there.
Thank you. I'll take a look at it. I honestly had a lot of trouble understanding those plans. I'm not an engineer. I really couldn't wrap my brain around those plans. So I'll take another look at it. Thank you.
Okay.
Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanne, I'm not sure if this is, I know it's a technical, but I don't know if it will mess up any of the process, but the maps are showing us as Network Drive. It's now known as Blue Sky Drive. Does that play into this to disrupt your work at all? Because we're going to be approving it, but we're approving what it says is Network Drive, which is really not Network Drive. Okay, so I can have the plan updated if the street has been changed? Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I didn't want to have any little technical issue get in the way, that's all. No worries. So it's no longer Network Drive. What is the name of it, please? Blue Sky Drive, it's 2 words, Blue Sky. Blue Sky. Okay, yes, we can update our plan and resubmit it to show Blue Sky. Does it need to be resubmitted? I don't think so.
It's funny because the street does say network, but then the address is on the side,
Yeah,
so Blue
so-
Sky.
Whole list that they have to work with engineering, so maybe it's something they can turn into engineering.
Oh, yeah, that was my other question.
Just add it to the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
The actual cert doesn't say network anyway, so
Okay.
it has a list of the manhole covers too.
So if I'm, Mr. Chairman, follow up,
Sure.
Joanne, it appears that we can approve this, even though the plans say Network Drive, but if you could submit it just for housekeeping purposes, the one that says Blue Sky Drive.
Absolutely, without a problem.
Is that,
No, the second certificate that you signed does say Network Drive, so that's gonna have to be
all
replaced.
right, so we're gonna have to change the certificate then.
Yeah, for the Middlesex Turnpike one.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. I have another question.
Okay.
Lynn, the concerns or comments from DPW, were those sent to the proponent?
Yes. They were made aware of it, and
Okay.
it's held for a while. And then in some discussions, Tom said it was fine to let it go forward with the second one, that they have no concerns over.
Okay.
And they would need to work with them on all of the listed things that were given to you guys.
Okay. Joanne, I'm not sure if you are, or have in front of you the list of, not necessarily objections, but concerns and issues to work through from our DPW department. There were 7 outlined issues, and I guess, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I do not have them in front of me, but, I mean, our normal practice is to obviously honor the town's request. So whatever it is that we need to do in order to have this grant of location approved, we will do it.
Okay. Do we just include that in the motion?
As a continuation.
Any other questions or?
All my questions were answered already, so.
Joe, you good? Good?
Good.
Good? All right, this is a public,
So we have to close
Will you-
one public hearing, we have 2 votes.
just want to see if there's any public comment. Anyone online?
Someone's got a hand up.
It's just
It's just her, okay. So I guess we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
hearings.
Mr.
Hearings.
Chairman, make a motion, we close both public hearings regarding these requests.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close both public hearings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? That's 500 to close both public hearings. Any other discussion on this agenda item? Move on to my motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve, I just want to make sure, it's the Bedford Street one that has the 7 conditions? All right. I make a motion that we approve the grant of location for N-Star doing business as Eversource for Bedford Street, subject to the 7 conditions presented and listed by DPW engineer Tom Hayes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 500. Thank you very much for coming in tonight,
Oh,
Joanne.
we got one more.
Well, just kidding.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve grant of location for N-Star doing business as Eversource for Middlesex Turnpike.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. I think we're good. Thank you, Joanne.
So there was 2 different work orders. There was the Crosby Street Drive that we just discussed that had a portion of conduit going into Middlesex Turnpike, but then there's a second work order for 225 Middlesex Turnpike, and that's where we're requesting for 160 feet of conduit. That's a separate grant of location request.
You voted both.
What?
You voted both.
Yeah, we voted for both been approved.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye now.
All right, moving on to approval for some warrant articles. Mr. Denizio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight, we're going to finish up most of the rest of the warrant articles that we hadn't had a chance to vote yet. And the first one is an annual article that comes to each May, and what it is it resets the funding limits for the revolving accounts that were set up by bylaw. Some time ago, about 8 or 9 years ago, the law was changed, and certain revolving accounts were set up as a bylaw, and you're required annually to come back and reset the spending limitation for each of those. And most years we're here and nothing has changed. This year there is a small change, and it has to do with our local transportation revolving account. We're asking to change that spending limitation from $100,000 to $250,000. Right now, that's our estimate of where that program is going to land. That's what we expect that to normalize at some point, and that's what our estimate is. Till now, we've had several different funding sources for that revolving account that are used to spend. One being the operating budget appropriation, that goes towards that article, towards that operation. The second being the TNC network, that's the 10 cents per ride share that we get for rides that originate in Burlington. And then the other part was the balance in that revolving account that we had been working down over a number of years. That program has grown, as you all know, and you've heard me talk about a bunch of times. That started when COVID arrived, so it took some time for us to get a feel of what that program was going to be. It has become very popular. So I think we're getting ahead of it a little here and making sure that we don't run into a spending limitation problem. So again, an annual article just setting the limits. This doesn't spend any money. It doesn't fund those revolving accounts. It's just authorizing the spending. That's Article 3. Mr. Chairman, if you want to do them separate, because we're going to have abstentions on some of them.
Sure.
That would be great.
Any questions on Article 3? Comments? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Article 3, authorize revolving accounts as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Thank you. The next article is Article 4-12, and it's for a vehicle for the Conservation Department. This is replacing a vehicle with an SUV. It's going to be a hybrid SUV, and the funding source is going to be coming from the Wetlands Receipts Reserved account. So this is money that we take in because of the Wetlands Act, and it has to be deposited in a separate account. And in order to spend that money, you have to have an appropriation from town meeting, similar to what we do with the ambulance ALS money. So this is a new vehicle for conservation, or a replacement vehicle for conservation spent from the ambulance wetlands, $42,000.
Comments or questions on this? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve and support Article 4-12, conservation vehicle replacement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Thank you. The next one is Article 16, and this is to authorize the Cable Access Enterprise Fund. This is an annual article. Some years ago, in 2018-ish, the law changed, and we were required to set up an enterprise fund for cable access. This is money that is collected, that we collect from the cable companies through a PEG, which stands for Public Educational Government fee from all of the subscribers. We take in the money. This is the mechanism we use to receive the revenue and then spend the money by sending it to BCAT. So this is what BCAT uses for their operating budget, and we are authorizing an amount for that account. Again, this doesn't cost the town any money. We're not approving anything. We're just authorizing and not to exceed limit for that account. For several years, that number has been $575,000 because of declining subscribers in the cable industry. That we haven't met that number for the past few years. We spoke to Jen, and she feels comfortable with that number being $550,000. We're not going to get to that number this year, but wishful thinking, I guess, that maybe just in case we do, we want to have the authorization to spend it. So again, an annual article doesn't appropriate anything. It just authorizes the fund.
You have any questions on this one?
Just one.
Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask it once, if not twice a year. have we heard anything from legal or beyond about any status shift toward addressing the shift away from cable to streaming, and if there's any way to capitalize or capture those dollars? I'm sure the answer is no still, but I'm going to ask.
Well, you could spend quite a lot of time reading articles about it for sure, if you'd like. But there hasn't really been any movement. I think every year there's some sort of new law that's presented that really never makes it too far.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, I mean, a community like ours, you know, we really benefit from, you know, the services that PCAP provides, and, you know, I think it's a shame to find ourselves constantly losing funding for things that are important. Anyways, that's all I had.
I don't know that the decrease has caused them, if they've gotten to the breaking point over there, or if it's caused them any real hardship as far as their operating budget, but if it declines the way it has, if that continues, you can see that in the future. And it is a great resource for the town. I think a lot of people agree.
Any other questions or comments? Take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Article 16, Cable Access Enterprise Fund as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, the next three articles, I'll talk about them collectively if you don't mind, but when we vote them, if we could do them individually, that would be great. So the memo in your backup has to do with, these are the articles where we fund our union contracts or approve our union contracts and compensation plans. So Article 17, 18, and 19 are the A&P compensation plan, the BMEA contract, which has been approved. We have a memorandum of agreement with the town and the union. The union has ratified that. We will hopefully get a positive vote at town meeting and be moving forward with a new contract to start the year. As you know, all of our union contracts expire this June 30, just June 30th. All three of these have the same wage adjustment. It's 3.5%. The two unions, that's for each year of a 3-year contract. And unlike most years, there's not a lot else that was agreed to in this. It was basically a year contract that's similar to other unions that have settled throughout the town at the same wage adjustment, with only minor housekeeping changes involved, any other changes. And then the A&P is also the same. However, they're not a collective bargaining, they're not a union, but they do bargain their wage schedule collectively. So Article 17 is the A&P, and that's for $208,714. Important to note that all of these are transfers from the negotiated settlements line that's already programmed in the operating budget. So none of these would be in addition to the budget that's being submitted to town meeting. It's just an authorization for us to take it from the negotiated settlements line and disperse it to the appropriate departments. If you have any specific questions on the agreement, on the different ones, I'll take them now. And if not, Article 17 is the first one.
Any questions on Article 17? Take a motion.
You know, but, we're gonna do them all.
Do them all separate, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 17, Administrative and Professional Compensation Plan as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Abstain.
Chair is aye. So that's 4-0-1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next motion would be on Article 18. That's the BMEA contract. For those listening, the BMEA is all non-DPW or public safety employees that work over 20 hours that are in a union are all captured by that. It's our biggest, on the town side, it's our biggest unit. There's 110 members to it, and that total dollar amount is $250,278. Again, a transfer from negotiated settlements.
Any questions on this one? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve Article 18, support Article 18, funding the BMEA contract.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Abstain.
And the chair is aye, so that's 401.
And the last of these motions is the DPW unit, has about 45 members, covering all but one of them in the DPW, and one that is a mechanic in the fire department. And this is for $143,833, again, no impact on the budget that has been approved.
Any questions?
By your board, not by town meeting yet.
Any questions on this one? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve Article 19 to fund the Public Works Department, or contract.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, the last financial article is, would be 4th of July, which, as we heard last meeting, is being withdrawn.
Okay. Are
That's it for financial articles.
there any other articles we want to discuss?
Yes, there is an article that I would like to discuss. It's been talked about a little bit.
Which one is that?
Article 35.
Okay, so before we discuss Article 35, I do want to say for the record that I want to acknowledge, I received an email from the planning board chairman, and it came in really late. It was right before the meeting started that I was told I got it, and I saw it, but I really haven't had a chance to review it, and I haven't had a chance to send it to you guys, so I will send it to you, the board, right after this meeting. They were invited to this meeting to discuss this article, but did inform this, both staff and board members had a conflict for tonight. It would not be able to attend. And I know our economic development director has had many conversations with the planning director and both the chair and vice chair of the board, so I'm confident they're well aware of her concerns of any recommended changes. So I just wanted to put that on the record before we started, if we were going to talk about this one. Okay, Sarah, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know it's not common practice for the select board to take a position on articles outside of our jurisdiction, but there is one being presented by planning board that I wanted to at least discuss whether we take a vote on it. That's, up for debate. Like Mike said, we did ask for some planning representation tonight to hopefully ask them questions. They had a conflict, totally understood, but I watched some of the planning board meetings where this was presented, so I do have a good sense of what is being asked. It has to do with the mixed-use innovation district near the mall, which our board was very involved with, along with Melissa and the Economic Development Office. And it's basically a change to the use tables, which sounds kind of innocuous, but we make changes to these tables occasionally at the town meeting level, usually cleaning up language or bringing it up to date. And this article actually involves multiple areas in town. The one that I'm specifically concerned about, I guess, is the changes to the mixed-use district. So as we all know, that just got passed in January at town meeting after 2 years of work by our Economic Development Office and support by us. Now, one town meeting later, planning board is asking for changes to certain uses which are currently by right with a site plan review to now require those uses be special permit, which means they could be denied, which is not a common practice. So it is a more detailed process. It can make the process longer and more costly to proponents. So, my concerns are, first of all, how it is perceived or looks to our developers. We created the zoning around the mall to attract developers in the hopes that they'd fill those empty spaces in town that need it with both housing and commercial spaces. It was approved by town meeting as is, got a lot of positive attention and press across the state. The governor even praised the town. Simon Properties and the Broad Institute were in favor of it and submitted letters to town meeting stating so. And now to go back so quickly and say, actually, there are several uses in that area that we are going to require a special permit, to me feels like a bait and switch. It does not show good faith in the zoning to do its job or send the message that Burlington is friendly to our developers. So my second concern is that it sort of goes against the original vision and purpose of this zoning. The intent was to encourage and incentivize a variety of uses in that area, making it more flexible and therefore more desirable. So by making these areas more restrictive, so that certain uses would have to go through the more rigorous special permit process is sort of, to me, a step backwards from the goals of the project. So just so folks are aware, the uses in question in that area are hotels, performance theaters, supermarkets, restaurants, swimming pool, and food hall and public market. And again, with the zoning that's in place now, all of these would still have to go through the planning board for site plan review, where they can address issues of traffic and circulation and safety and aesthetics. So I do understand the intention behind making these changes is to make projects better fit and more appropriate for the area. I think my concerns have to do with the optics and the execution of these changes that go against the intent of what we, meaning the town, us, town meeting, we're trying to do with this mixed use area. So I am trying to be very diplomatic and understanding and not overstep, but the mixed use district, it was kind of our thing. It was new, it was innovative, a big deal. It was a ton of work to come up with the right plan, to get buy-in from multiple many stakeholders. And my fear is that this will be proposed as a housekeeping item at town meeting when there are actually significant changes. So that's why I bring it up now, with some hesitation and trepidation that it may not be received well by some folks in the community, but I felt like this was a big enough deal, and that we had such a heavy involvement in the mixed-use district that it was worth voicing my concerns. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, and I was a little concerned with trying to make these changes with something that was passed so overwhelmingly by town meeting. And it was a 3-year project by Melissa that has been vetted and checked and double-checked. And suddenly in the very next town meeting, we're trying to make changes on some of the use table labels. And that's why we invited planning here to kind of try and stake their case. Unfortunately, they did have a conflict tonight. So I'm kind of at a loss here on what to do. Town meeting is Monday. And also trying to be diplomatic and just understand what the goal was and what was actually that we found that was so wrong about the project. I'm very confused on why this is coming up so quickly before, the ink is even dry on the article that was just overwhelmingly passed. Anyone have any questions or comments? I'm a little, with what direction we want to go? Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, Sarah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I want to say that the remarks I had prepared were dangerously similar, because I believe that our concerns are the same. I know, again, we've said it before, just the scheduling conflicts claim, representation can't be here tonight. So before I get into my proposed next step, what I'd just like to add on to what Sarah had said was, I think our decision to, or at least individuals, I know we haven't discussed this, but I know that we've all voiced things, to John, to discuss this. I think, that this board works very hard to quote unquote stay in our lane. And I think that that's a very tricky thing to do as the executive branch of government, as the quote unquote leadership face, I think oftentimes of Burlington, as the home of the economic development department, and therefore one of the big faces to the business community, both large and small. And so I think that we are well within our bounds to at least have a discussion about it, knowing full well that planning board is within their right to bring this forward, right? I just want to put that out there, right? Like we aren't, trying to do anything of that regard. Like Mike said, this was a 3-year process with tons of opportunity to review and collaborate. And I guess like my ask is, and I would say the same if they were here, and I'll say it again when we have the opportunity to talk to them, from where I sit, I feel like the collaboration has been low, and that there's an opportunity for greater collaboration across our boards for discussion, and I don't care if it happens in a joint meeting, with the 12 of us, right? Like, let that be the case, but I want to make sure that, what we're saying here is we want there to be collaboration going forward. This is not us sticking a stick in the bicycle wheel of planning board by any means. That being said, I think it's only fair that, we provide the planning department the opportunity to come before us and have a discussion with us. And that, perhaps that happens ahead of town meeting for a little bit. So we can have more of a discussion heading into it. Because the only thing I could, if that can't happen, my only request is that planning board postpone this article until we can have a better discussion. Because again, economic development sits with us. And I think that this is where, we have to collaborate. There has to be synergy across 2 elected boards and 2 departments, where this is how, our government and municipality is structured. So rather than saying, yeah, let's just go ahead and vote on it tonight, I would say let's, wait until the 12th. Have one of our town meetings and, have planning come in and talk for a few minutes, and then we can vote, and maybe by then, like, we can, I don't know, chair to chair, you guys can have some discussions or whatever that might look like. Anyways, that's a proposal I want to put out there.
JD, how would the timing work if we had a special meeting on the 12th, with giving them an opportunity to present before town meeting? Would we miss it? Or you think 35 would be gone?
35 isn't going to come up on the 12th. We're not going to get through.
It could come up that Wednesday, though.
It could come up on the 19th. I mean, as far as the logistics of scheduling the meeting, that's not a problem. It's 48 hours is all we need to do for that. I think that would probably take some discussion with the chair to see if they wanted the meeting, or if they could have someone that could make it.
So our meetings this month are tonight and the 19th, and we don't have one on the 12th. That's the first night of town meeting. Town meeting is the 12th and 14th, the first 2 nights.
We do not have one scheduled. If we were going to schedule one, we would need to do that by Thursday. Thursday.
Anyone have any other comments or ideas?
I don't have any ideas on that, but I do have a couple comments.
Sure.
So I just want to say thank you to Sarah and Nick for the comments they've made about this issue. I've been here a very, very long time. This stuff has been going on for years, back and forth with different boards. The bottom line is that I believe that we're supposed to be in these seats, whether it's this seat, town meeting seat, whatever seat you're in, when you're in this world of ours of political, you're here to do what's best for the town of Burlington. Melissa has talked to this, been going over this for 3 years now. So none of this came up in 3 years of what the planning board wants to do. All of a sudden, it's an issue now. We've already gone to town meeting, we've already approved this once. I don't understand what the problem is here. It gets very aggravating to sit here and listen to people talk about things that's not in your realm, that's not in your realm. Yeah, we do try to stay out of our realm, but you know what? We're the select board, they're the planning board, I get that. And sometimes we do have to get involved or talk about other things because it has to come through this office first. So the bottom line to me is that I don't understand how they didn't know that this was going on. Now they want to change the rules. It just baffles me. This is supposed to be what is best for Burlington. The individual stuff has to leave every office there is. That's my personal opinion. That's my opinion as a selectman, and I'm going to leave it at that before I get carried away and get put onto court.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like every other article we have, we always hear from the sponsor or the driving force behind the article. So one, I would like to hear from the planning board, and two, I don't want to make any comment until I read that email that came in late. I mean, that's, I can't make a comment on something that I haven't even seen, so I'm going to hold off on discussion.
So what I'm thinking is maybe we try and schedule that meeting for the 12th. I think it's that important. I know it doesn't fall in a normal meeting, but we're getting together for town meeting anyway. Just come a little bit early. And hopefully that'll work with them, and that gives them another opportunity to state their case on what we're missing here. Because they obviously think we are missing something, and I don't know what that is. What do you guys think?
I would just say, I would propose to you as the chair to talk to the chair of the planning board and decide if they want to have a joint meeting, like if we should just post it as a joint meeting, or if we should post it as our meeting and they're going to send representatives, right? Because if they just send the chair and the vice chair and Liz, then they're not breaking quorum, right? So, I mean, I would just say, like, for the sake of posting, we should decide on what that looks like. Or like, you know, are we opening it to a full joint and then anyone from planning can come? So other than that, but I mean, I'm on board for the 12th. I think that we should, you know, squirrel away an hour. I hate to, you know, take time from people. I know it's, you know, this is the tight time of year, you know. But I think that it warrants the conversation.
Yeah, I can reach out to the chair of the planning board, and I have no preference on making it a joint meeting or our meeting with their representatives or theirs with us. I just want to make sure we get it right. I want to make sure every voice is given a chance to be heard, so we can collaborate and we can kind of understand where each side's coming from. And I think that's the only fair thing to do. Joe?
I would suggest, and it's just a suggestion, you guys can make your own decisions, I would suggest you make it a joint meeting, because what's going to happen is 3 or 4 of us are going to go, 2 or 3 of them are going to go, they're going to go back to the board, they're going to have questions, we're going to have questions, then it's going to be prolonged to another meeting. So I would just say, if questions just come, I would say make it a joint meeting. That's just my opinion, that's something that you guys can decide on from there. You know it's going to go back and forth, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I might add, you may want to allow the flexibility to potentially offer the 14th also. The first night of town meeting, some folks might already have something lined up. It's a rough night for us, too, to get down there. So if it works better for folks' schedules, maybe that's an option also, the 14th. I mean, we're not going to get to Article 35 on night 1. We may on night 2, maybe not.
Make it for them.
Whatever works best for everyone.
Yes.
What's that?
I mean,
I think whatever works best for the most people is the way to go.
both of my nights are already committed for town meetings, so, I mean, I would say offer both and see
Well, I
what
would
they
just say make it convenient for them, because they do have a lot to do. So if you make it for the other one, that's would be my suggestion, make it convenient for them.
Yeah, that's tough.
What do you think?
Both nights are awful for me, so it'll be equally bad.
Which one is more awful?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, before, JD?
And just that Monday night might be tough to get a room too, so if we do end up having to do it here, we're just gonna need to know. We can't know Thursday night and post, because we're gonna have to line up a room also.
Okay, so I will reach out to Brenda tomorrow.
So Thursday is our deadline for Monday. Monday would be our deadline for Wednesday, but yes, ASAP, based on where this is going to take place, is best for me.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I skipped 2 warrant articles, non-financial, but 2 that would be great if we could get a vote from the board on.
any other questions or comments on 35? We know the plan going forward. All right, moving back.
Okay, going back in time, Article 28 was an easement for a fire hydrant at 180 Cambridge Street. Over 20 years ago, there was a change made and the fire hydrant was moved, and it's technically on the property at 180 Cambridge Street. The homeowner has agreed to an easement, and the process is that it needs to be approved by town meeting. First, there's a memo for Brian White on it in the backup, but it came from Lisa Mead, helped square it away. So we can't maintain it right now without the easement because it's on private property.
Okay, any questions? Take a motion?
I make a motion that we vote to support Article 28, the easement for the fire hydrant at 180 Cambridge Street.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 4-0.
Last one, again. Article 29 is related to Article 3 with the revolving accounts that we annually set up. This one has to do with an outdated name and descriptor in the bylaw itself. So this is actually a general bylaw change, and I've gone to the General Bylaw Review Committee, who unanimously supported the change, similar to one that we did with the animal control officer at the last town meeting. There was some outdated language in this, specifically referring to the local, the Beeline minibus. We commonly refer to that as the local transportation program now, and not Beeline, because we don't use that actual vehicle anymore. As you know, we use that concierge rideshare program, so.
Go Granny.
And Go Granny.
Any questions on Go Granny?
Sorry, what was the name of the proposed name change?
Local transportation program from Beeline minibus.
Yeah, I was talking to Jeremy Harrington, who's on the planning board, and he had a very interesting take on adding to local transportation on top of the Go Granny, which I think having a singular fund, that is kind of focused on transportation, I think is a great idea. So that's all. I would support this.
I'll take a motion.
I would make a motion that we support Article 29 to rename the revolving fund.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 5-0. All right, Town Administrator Authorization.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since there's been a change in the town administrator role, we're trying to update some authorizations that town administrators before the current one had, was to be able to sign documents for the board in certain situations, such as emergencies when the board can't meet, and also for the deputy local licensing authority. This is after you approve licenses for the ABCC, the town administrator signs with the board's authority those forms. So just a couple, I'm assuming we'll need 2 votes.
The signatory has a motion for you. I can read it, but if there's any questions.
Any questions on,
No, we did this for Paul. I think it makes sense. It can be difficult to get all 5 of us together.
got a motion pursuant to Section 2.4.16, the Town of Burlington General Bylaws, the Select Board hereby authorizes the town administrator to take any action as he seems necessary to fulfill the duties of town administrator in the preservation of health, welfare of the citizens of the town, to preserve the status quo or negotiating position of the town. If an emergency the Select Board cannot meet, the town administrator may act. The town administrator shall bring any such action to the attention of the board in the next available meeting for the board to consider and/or affirm the action of the town administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? And
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the town administrator's authorization to be our deputy local licensing authority.
Second.
motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 5-0. Subcommittee reports. Who wants to go first?
I have nothing tonight.
Nothing for you?
I have nothing on it.
Nothing, Nick?
No.
Nothing, Joe?
I'll just do an update for DPW. The Cambridge Street work is on track so far. Looking to, based on last week's milling work, it's on track to stay on schedule. Again, asking for patience from the community as we work through these road improvements. Also asking folks to drive safely, especially if you're cutting through neighborhoods, to avoid the road work. I've heard some chatter about there being increased traffic on the side roads, as well as increased speeds. So just asking everybody to drive safely out there. Also wanted to say that the Burlington Volunteer Reserve Corps will be holding a blood pressure clinic at the Council on Aging, 61 Center Street, for a few days in May, May 8th, May 22nd, and May 28th. You can contact either COA or Board of Health for more information on that. That's all. Thank you.
Chairman has nothing. Town administrator report?
Just a few quick thoughts here. The Police Station Building Committee will meet this week. The police station design team will be going to DCM this week. So we have some milestones coming up. After that, we'll be going to planning board for initial preliminary design review. And then in June, we'll be going to planning board for the official site plan review. So there's a lot happening there. So I thought what I would do last couple times we were here, I shared some slides. So I wanted to just talk about the design. And last time we were here, we talked about how the design progressed through the history of it from the beginning one. I won't spend too much time on the beginning ones. You've all seen these. And then every time we got some feedback and did some design improvements inside of the building, it set the shape. I know the architects would be mad if I just said shape. They'd want me to use a better word, but the shape of the outside of the building. And we came down to this, which was option 5A. This board had provided feedback. I begged people to not look at the colors and hate it because of the colors, because it could be any color, but just wanted people to give some feedback on what that look and feel was like on the outside. And the design team had done just a little more to it. Again, don't look at the color. I know that it's been pretty much universal. Everybody hated the blue, but that was just that color. The building materials are the same, but there was a little improvement in the front of the building. You can see in the previous design, there was the ramp comes from the south side of the building and moves its way north. And you can see in the latest update, there was a seat wall that kind of runs along that side there, and really opens up that front door, if you will. So the rest of the building still kind of looks the same, minus the colors and building materials. So when we were talking, we were asking the board and all the other boards for feedback, basically on these bump outs here with the dormer roofs. That building material could be that hardy siding, it could be shingle, it could be brick, and it could be any color. So we kind of settled in this board's feedback was that they liked this design of the building and would like to see some other options on what those might look like. If you were to just make that building look, so I left out that if this is part of the town center overlay district, so there are some design parameters where it has to blend in with building in the area and other things like that. So if someone wanted that to look just like Grandview, there's an option for it to look just like Grandview. Now, again, color changed. That was it. It's still the same building materials on these bump outs and the big front facade over the training room. Those are all hardy, a hardy shingle type material. This is what it might look like if that were all brick.
Without those colors?
No,
Don't look at the colors.
please.
Is that the color?
Do you hate the color? And then there's just a couple of options of that, or this one has the water table wall on the bottom, just a little added. So pretty soon, it's sink or swim time. The board will have to pick one of those. We'll continue to get some options. We'll be able to get some more feedback from DCM tomorrow. We'll get some feedback from planning board on the 15th potentially. And then the board can decide on what type of materials or color or anything you see fit. But I think the decision has been made sort of on the shape of the building. And most importantly, that's because of the design changes that were made inside of the building that got it to look like this. And speaking of the inside of the building, I'll share these with you so you can take a better look. You can't really see them great on the screen. And we don't share them out widespread. This is the floor plans of the building, sort of the adjacencies and the color scheme. You'll understand it when you can see it a little better when I send it to you. But you'll be able to see all three floors and what they're supposed to look, what they're going to look like. And this is through hours and hours of meetings with not only the design team and the chief, but also a group of folks over there at the PD to really make sure that we're getting a 21st century police building that has what they need to be the top-notch department that they are. So that's it for the police station. I'll forward those to you all. I'll send you a list of those dates again. And then my last thing was that town meeting begins on Monday. Please, for anybody watching, any town meeting members, anybody that has any questions, call the department heads, call me. call someone ahead of time. Anything we can talk about ahead of time will help us on town meeting. And then one of those chances to hear some is the town clerk's town meeting preview roadshow. Next viewing is tomorrow. There's one going on right now. The next one is tomorrow in this room for anybody that wants to go. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Take a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 4-1. Meeting is adjourned.
That means tonight.